Hi, welcome to Storm the Field. I am Mathis. I'm joined here with Rob and Quentin. Trey, he's not able to make it today. Slacker. Slacker, slacker,
Other
slacker.
obligations,
Yep, obligations.
familial.
Yeah, and so today is going to be,
Thanks. Shout out to Ryan Lewis.
yep, I guess. I don't even think she's a friend of the show right now. But yeah, we're gonna do our second prediction video, and this one is gonna be a little more similar to our normal structure. When we have more to talk about from our reaction episode, we might spill into this episode before we get into our predictions. But pretty much, we're gonna pick every game that has a top 25 ranked. But we're not gonna talk about all of them. We're gonna talk about the games that we think are fun, and those games are going. The number of those games is gonna increase. We count. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7 games to go over today, and so we're doing this on the CBS Fantasy Football Pick'em, like it's a pretty much fantasy football but for college, and we're gonna be coming through with our reaction video probably Sunday or Monday. And so we'll have some reactions. It might not be about these games. We'll definitely cover them, but we're going to talk about the most interesting topics. And so we're just going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to start off. We're going to go in order of game time. And so we're starting off with the Thursday game. We got West Virginia at Pitt, the revival of the backyard brawl.
Well, Mathis, Vegas has Pitt by 7.5. The over/under is 52, and as you mentioned, this is called the backyard brawl. It's a rematch of old rivals. Believe back when I want to say West Virginia was in the Big Ten, and or no Big East.
This is the Big
Was it
East,
the
I
Big
think, is
East?
where they played.
The Big East, and so this game is at West Virginia. Pitt is the number 17th ranked team in the nation. They had a really good season last year. They lost their starting quarterback to the NFL draft, but I believe they picked up a pretty good transfer from USC. I'm predicting a big win by Pitt on the road by 14.
You mean,
Oh, wow.
35-21.
Okay. So you're taking the way over on that.
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to win by that much.
Okay, Quentin. So this is our tiebreaker game. So if one of us go even, we have to give a total score for this game, and that's it. So you give me a final score. Tell me who you think is going to win. Kind of explain your thought process too.
I have Pitt winning 33-27 in a closer game. I think it's going to be go down the wire. I think it's the renewal of the rivalry. I think the energy is going to be there at Pitt. Both
with Pitt. It's at West Virginia.
No, it's not.
Are you sure? Maybe you're right.
Stats and info. It's not getting the info right, apparently.
Uh-oh.
I was fed bad info.
Yeah, I have it on the screen. It's at Pitt. So
At Pitt, and you're only going with a 6-point win.
Yeah, I think that both teams have new quarterbacks, and West Virginia has JT Daniels. I think he's pretty good, so I think that it's going to be a closer game. I mean, the rivalry is back, so I feel like the game's going to have a lot of energy.
Hey, let me ask you this, Quentin. Without looking at your predictions, what do you have Pitt and West Virginia doing overall for this season?
Well, I have West Virginia 6-6, and I have Pitt 9-3.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense. I have it 9-3 for Pitt, 3-9 for West Virginia. So
it was a pretty easy decision for you.
Yeah.
I think I had West Virginia at 5-7, and I have Pitt at 8-4.
Actually, I don't know.
And yeah, I'm with you on the thought process. I think it's gonna be a tough game. Renewal of a rivalry, 2 brand new quarterbacks and 2 new systems. So I think it's gonna be a little bit lower scoring. I did not know that the over under was set at 52. because I actually have the score into the game being Pitt brings it out. They win 28-24, 52 on the dot.
Ooh,
And
you
so
should be in Vegas, Mathis.
I guess so, but if I'm wrong, then we blame them and not me.
Well, I have a 56 point over under, and if I remember correctly, last week Quentin wanted to go with the same. Asked what I had, and he changed his because he didn't want to be the same as me.
Well, yeah, it makes no sense to have the tiebreaker the same. So
yeah, you can't break a tie if it's. Can you imagine y'all have the same record throughout this week, and then the tiebreaker is the same record?
So Mathis, tell us what Trey has. Did he give you his picks?
I seem to have
Not
misplaced.
that it matters, because if it did, he would have shown up.
Yeah, I can't give you. Oh, actually, I can. I can give you his number.
Just his winner.
He's trying to find the text he sent. Yeah, can you believe that he's? So Trey has the over under. Rob, he's on the dot with you. I don't know what he has the score prediction, but his total score is 50.
Trey,
he has him at 56
Trey,
points.
if you're listening in, call us so we can talk.
We're not live, so.
Oh man. Okay.
And so he has the total score at 56, and he has Pitt winning.
Rob's
so
just off today.
He's right there with you. Rob's doing a me impression right now.
We need to fire producer Duke. He's just not getting me good.
Yeah,
today.
He's not going too great.
It looks like he just laid down to take a nap behind you. So.
Probably so.
Yeah, friend of the podcast though.
Friend and only employee.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead.
Not paid though.
We're gonna go ahead and move on.
It's unpaid internship.
It's an internship, but we do pay him in Scooby snacks.
That is true.
I guess that's true.
All right, so we're moving on to the next team. This one,
game.
Not as interesting. Just put it up on the screen. Playing Sam Houston State at Kyle Field. We're gonna be there. Marks the start of the STF tour. And maybe the end.
Right.
I guess we'll see how much money we have. And I don't really think there's much to this game. I think the only really interesting thing that I can think about is, like, we're gonna find out how well Haynes King can control the football. Like, if he can hold on to it. I have it. The question written down. Will Haynes King have a turnover bug? Because he's a little reckless. But he's a great athlete, someone you really want behind if you don't have a great O-line, which they do, but he'll be able to extend some plays for you.
I think he started 2 games last year, maybe 1, and got hurt in his second. I can't remember the Colorado State if it was number 2 or number 3 last year, but in essence, this is really his first starting year, although he's got a whole year under his belt learning the system and so forth. But really, just a few basic facts on this game. There's no Vegas line on it. I don't know if that means it just hadn't come out yet, but currently there's no line. I predict A&M to win big by 24, but this is, and we've talked about this off the podcast, by 24. But this is a Sam Houston State team that will be going into FBS in 2023. They were 11-1 last year, and I think one of you guys mentioned they're one of the top 5 ranked FCS teams. So they're conceivably better than some of our least favorite Power 5 programs.
Yeah,
maybe even Vanderbilt.
Mute him.
I think that the most interesting topic would be, will the total score be over or under 75 points? I think that A&M is going to just completely dominate. I think that their defense is going to be way too much. I think that they're going to move the ball with ease. So I think that if they're going to win.
And I could see A&M scoring in the 40s, maybe even the 50s. But if they've got that big lead, then I see Jimbo taking out a lot of his defensive players. And you might see a couple of late Sam Houston touchdowns mopping up.
Yeah, maybe.
I will personally. I will be. I know we're about to move on, but I personally would be happy if they win by 24.
I don't see it being anything less than a 4 touchdown game at least. And
Yeah.
I think the only thing that can make it not that is offensive struggles on the part of A&M, because I think your defense is going to be able to keep them under 3 touchdowns, or you should
The
at least.
longer the offense struggles, the longer the starting defense will stay in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll. I don't necessarily think it's going to be close. It's an 11 o'clock game. I don't know if the defense is going to make that game stretch on long, or if it's going to be quick and short. Just because y'all are going to
But
be.
I tell you what, it's going to be in the 80s, and I think the chance of rain is in the upper 50s, maybe lower 60s. So it could be a messy game, which I think will play into A&M's defense.
Yeah.
So
I think if you're winning by
A&M there.
24, that's a cause for concern, because this is not a team who should be able to hang with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, but we're back on to some ranked matchups, not just what Rob demanded we throw in here. Because obviously I'm excited to go, but there's not really a whole lot you can.
I threatened to revoke tickets.
Yeah, he's paying, so I'm obviously excited to go, but there's not really much to talk about in terms of predictions. Like, none of us are gonna throw out a Sam Houston pick here. Luckily Trey's not here, so he's not the one to do it. But yeah, let's move on.
We scheduled this game back in April, and we tried to get the Miami game, and way back in April it was already sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just say we can pretend that Trey is gonna pick Sam Houston State, so his
you can lock that in.
His overall record can be.
He does like to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. What a shame. Sacrificing his intelligence. We're moving on. We got Oregon at. I mean, it's not at Georgia, but it's pretty much it's in Atlanta. I went ahead and that's a Georgia home game, and
it's a neutral site, but it's a Georgia home game for sure. All right. I assume you want me to go first, since our esteemed starter is a no-show.
Yeah.
So a quick couple of facts. Georgia's number 3, Oregon's number 11 in the national rankings. Georgia is picked at a neutral site by 17.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is the quarterback of Oregon, is he not?
Yes.
He is 0-3 against Georgia. Can he get his first win ever against Georgia? Oregon has a new coach, and as I mentioned, a new quarterback. I'm predicting Georgia by 14. I think the loser of this game still has a chance, obviously, to win their division or their conference, but I think their chances of making the football playoffs significantly lowered. This is almost, especially for Oregon, but maybe even for Georgia, this is a must-win if you want to be in the college football playoffs.
Yeah. I could agree with most of what Rob said. I think that having Bo Nix as a starter will actually be an advantage because he's played this Georgia team 3 times already. Not that I don't know how much of a difference that'll make, but he's
never scored more than 14 points against Georgia.
Well, he'll be used to the physicality against Georgia comparative to the other players on his team. So I think that could be a plus for them. But also, it's Georgia, first-year head coach, and Dan Lanning at Oregon. So I don't know how much of a difference. I don't know. I think that Georgia will at least win by 2 touchdowns.
I don't know if I have Georgia by 14, but I don't know if Bo Nix know when Georgia is going to help. I mean, that's like saying, hey guys, I played them 3 times. They're good. They're going to kick our butts.
Yeah.
Get ready to run for the hills. I mean, tell me something we can use as an advantage. They hit hard.
Does anyone know? where Dan Lanley's coming from?
Georgia.
Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator at Georgia. And so
Really?
I don't think that Bo Nix have playing Georgia is a big deal. What I do think is a big deal is the guy who coached your national championship defense last year is going to be playing against you. He knows those players. He recruited them, so he knows their weaknesses.
Hang on, Mathis. Does he know those players? 7 of those players are in the NFL right now.
But he recruited the guys that were coming up.
Right? And I see him telling his Oregon offense, guys, I used to coach these guys.
These are good.
You need to throw that ball within 2 seconds because they're gonna come after you.
And I'm not going out on a limb saying that Oregon's going to win this game because I think we're all in agreement that this is Georgia's game to lose, and I think it'd be pretty bold for them at a pretty much a home game to lose this outright.
Yeah.
I do think it's fun. I think it's a very fun game.
Mathis, what happened last year with Oregon in their first or second game of the season?
It was game 3.
It's possible.
They beat Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean it's always possible.
And I think that Bo Nix is a quarterback who is capable of having. I'm not talking about wins and losses right now. I'm talking about fun. And I think this is gonna be a fun game.
Yeah.
I don't think that Georgia's ever gonna really feel threatened as if they're gonna lose. But I think anywhere from like a 10 to a 16-point game is definitely in the cards. I think there's going to be scoring back and forth. I'd probably set the over under at about 65, maybe like a. I'm not great at math, but something high 30s, maybe.
That's why you're going into sports journalism.
Yeah, taking some math classes right now, so I'm a little bogged down.
Hey, Mathis, what time is this game? Is it 11 o'clock game as well?
No, it's a 2:30 game.
2:30. Okay, so we're going to be watching this game on the road back to Parker County.
Listening.
Station.
Don't
listening.
Text,
well,
don't text and drive.
I imagine you're going to be driving and I'm going to be driving, so I imagine any passengers we have will be watching this game.
Yeah, we might have to give them a little side eye every now and then, but
or ask them to move it in front of the windshield.
But if we have any sheriff's office or police officer watching right now, we're going to be listening to the game on the road, not watching.
Yes.
But yeah,
except for our mandatory rest stops.
Yeah, I think Georgia should win this game. I don't think that Oregon necessarily needs to win this game to be encouraged through the rest of the year. I think you can lose this game if you play them close. If it's a 10-point game or 8-point game, something maybe a little too close for comfort for some Georgia fans, then you might be charged up and ready because you might be favored in every game you play the rest of the year, depending on how Utah looks.
I'll say this, guys. Georgia can afford to lose this game because if they can go 8-0 in the SEC and win the rest of their non-conference games, I mean, winning the SEC East and even the conference championship, that's good enough to put you in the national playoffs with an 11-1 record. I think Oregon, if they lose this game, I'm not 100% sure winning the Pac-12 gets you in. I mean, at 11-1, I would think their odds would be pretty good, but I don't think any of us have Oregon going undefeated in the Pac-12. So I think if they're going to make it, they need to win the Pac-12 and they need to have a big win non-conference, and this is the game for them.
Yeah.
So, to me, for the playoffs, this is a must-win for Oregon.
I also think it's a must-win for Georgia too, though, because if they win out
11-0 after this game and beat Alabama in the SEC championship, they're in the playoff.
But you have to play Alabama in the SEC championship.
Hey guys, if UT goes 12-0 and then wins the 2 games in the playoff, then they'll be national champions.
Yeah,
we can talk about.
You gotta play Alabama.
Well, you have to win the rest of your. I think it'd be a
conference
cause for
championship is
concern if this game is close for
my
Oregon,
bold
for Georgia.
prediction. If Georgia loses this game but wins out and wins the SEC championship, they will be in the playoffs. I don't have that.
Obviously, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, what are the chances that they're going to beat Alabama? That Alabama team is stacked.
And also, if
Well,
you're losing to a team
I
like
agree.
Oregon, you're going to play better teams throughout the year.
Yeah. Unlike Oregon, all the
And you're
wins
gonna
that
get banged
Oregon's
up.
going to have later in the season just isn't going to make that much of an emphasis for the voters in the polls. But Alabama is going to be favored no matter who they play. I think Georgia is one of the few teams that has proven and that could beat them, and they did last year. They were 1-1 against Alabama. They lost in the championship, but they were undefeated going into that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't want to stay on this game too long. We want to go ahead and get through the rest of these.
I say we stay in the SEC.
Oh, we are. We are
Okay.
going straight to Arkansas, where the late kick tour begins. The Every Given Saturday tour begins in, is it Fayetteville or Fayetteville, whatever you want? I'm not from Arkansas, so don't come for me in the comments.
That's actually not. It wasn't the SEC game I was thinking of, but we'll go with it. You got number 23 Cincinnati playing on the road to number 19 Arkansas. None of us really have predictions overall for Cincinnati because they're not in the Power 5 yet. I have Arkansas going 8-4 last year.
Last year?
I think this year. I have them going 8-4 this year. The line is Arkansas by 6.5 playing at home. And I think, personally, naysayers could say for both teams that last year was a fluke. Arkansas had a great season, wasn't expected. Cincinnati made the playoffs, first non-Power 5 team to ever make the playoffs. So was it a fluke? I think the loser of this game is going to get some of that baggage. The winner is just going to keep on moving. I think if Cincinnati wins, I think it's going to look good for them moving into the Big 12 next year, having a SEC win under their belt. And I think they're going in, next year? For sure? To the Big 12?
2023.
Yes.
23? 23. So next year. So, they didn't help their cause last year. Yes, they made the playoffs, but they lost bad to Alabama in the first round. So, was last year a fluke? And I think if Cincinnati beats Arkansas this year, they're going to prove everyone wrong who thinks that it was a fluke. And personally, I hope it's not, because I want last year's Arkansas season to be a fluke. Being an Aggie fan, I don't like losing to Arkansas. So I'm pulling for Cincinnati, but I pick Arkansas, and I pick them at home game. Big crowd. Cincinnati's probably one of the biggest non-conference games they're having since last year's Texas game. I pick Arkansas by 10. Got a little smile out of Mathis.
Quentin, you go ahead. Hey, what's the line on this game, by the way?
It's Arkansas by 6.5.
Okay.
And they're about ranked the same. Arkansas is 19, Cincinnati's 23.
Okay, Quentin?
I just feel like Cincinnati lost way too much. I mean, they lost way too much last year. I mean, they had their quarterback drafted to the NFL, and then pretty much their whole defensive back unit is gone at this point. So I feel like Arkansas's physicality is just going to overpower them. I'd probably have Arkansas. I'd probably say Arkansas by like 9. I don't know that they're going to necessarily get to that double-digit win, but I think that it's going to be a pretty convincing win.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. I think that Arkansas should win this game. Cincinnati did lose a lot, especially in their you couldn't pass on them last year. And I think they lost both their cornerbacks to the NFL. And I think 9 total guys they had drafted? Something crazy. And when you're a group of 5 team, you got to build towards a year. You don't necessarily build towards multiple years like some teams can do in FBS. And
Mathis, I'd agree. I think and that might change for Cincinnati, but a lot of players use Cincinnati and teams like them as a stepping stone to get into the SEC or get into the Big 12 to
Yeah,
prove
and
themselves.
I don't even think if I had to pick today, I wouldn't even say that they're going to win their conference. I would probably pick Houston to end up winning that conference.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good game. I think Luke Fickell's going to keep it close. I'm thinking. I think they'll cover the spread. I think it'll be anywhere from about 8 or 9 to 14 point game. But I think it's. I'd be surprised if the game goes either way more than that. I think if Cincinnati wins, it's less than a touchdown. But I'm gonna go ahead and ride with the Razorbacks on this one.
Do we know what Trey picked on this game?
Do we even care? Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, this is a little unprofessional.
Well, what's
Yeah, he's got
unprofessional is Trey not showing up.
Yeah, I know. We might have to have a talk with him in the next upcoming meeting. And you can go to our Instagram. He's tagged in the Instagram bio of our channel's Instagram. So if you need to go bothering him in the DMs, then we will not mind. We encourage that. Just don't be too mean. But yeah, he's got Arkansas winning, and that moves us straight into
another SEC game.
Another one. Utah at Florida.
It sounds like we're homers, but we're not. These are just the best games.
It's the highest ranked games. All right, Rob.
Utah versus Florida. Utah is number 7, playing on the road to an unranked Florida team. Utah is favored by 2.5 points. So what does that tell you? Florida's unranked. Utah is number 7. They're playing on the road. Okay, so that you give the home team generally 3 points. So on a neutral site, that makes Utah a 5.5 point favorite. That either doesn't put a lot of confidence in Utah or gives Florida a lot playing at home. So this is Florida's Billy Napier's first year as coaching, I believe. So, man, he could really turn that program around with a big win over Utah at home. Again, like Oregon, I don't know if this loss, if Utah loses this game, it obviously doesn't affect their chances of winning the Pac-12, but does losing to an unranked Florida team cost you a chance? Even if you win the Pac-12, does it cost you a chance in the college football playoffs? I don't know.
I think that whatever happens.
As far as my prediction, I predict a very close game. I predict Florida winning by 3.
My thing about this game and then the Oregon-Georgia game is this can be a really, really good day for the Pac-12 or a really bad day for the Pac-12. If you have your conference champion go into an unranked Florida and lose, then that does not look too good, especially when the fate of the conference is a little bit of an unknown still.
Yeah.
And so that does not look good if you're Kyle Whittingham.
Hey, remind me, guys, the Pac-12 this year does not have divisions, but last year they did. With Utah and who played in the conference championship?
Utah, Oregon.
Utah and Oregon? Huh?
Oregon.
Well, they won it, but who played them? Utah?
Oregon.
Utah beat Oregon.
Oh, okay, Utah beat Oregon. You could have the last year's Pac-12 championship matchup both going 0-1 to start the season.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this doesn't bode well if the ACC loses these games. What does it mean to the SEC if Florida and Georgia lose these games?
No, not much really, honestly.
I think it would mean a lot more for
They're both
Georgia.
at home.
It wouldn't mean anything for the SEC. I think it would mean more for Georgia.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It means more for them to win than it would hurt the SEC for losing.
Yeah. Quentin, but what do you have for this game? What do you think?
I have have Utah, but I think it's going to be really close. I just think that Utah is a team that it's kind of like they're not going to just go out and beat you, but they're just going to wait for you to let them. They're going to wait for you to hand it to them. So I feel like an unexperienced staff in Florida with that team, not a lot of depth. They hopefully they don't need to rely on Anthony Richardson to throw the ball a lot because I don't know. I don't know that they're going to be able to pass on that Utah defense. And I think Utah just has a lot of depth, and I really believe in the Utah team. I think that they're going to be very good. Like, I think I want to say that their program is like one of however many teams that has both coordinators, their coach, and their quarterback all returning. I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty big deal. I think that the experience is probably just going to end up beating Florida in the end. But Florida, the Swamp is a very hard place to play. So I think I could definitely see Florida pulling out the victory. And if they do, that'd be very big for Billy Napier.
Yeah. I want to mention, I think we're all high on Utah. I think we all have them winning the Pac-12. I want to remind you guys, if you go back to the Pac-12 predictions, episode 4, I believe, in the STF, I have Utah going on an 11 game winning streak.
Rob, you're
But
struggling today.
starting the season 0-1 against Florida. This is the only loss I see Utah having this year. Now that can change, but I still see them winning the Pac-12. But I have them losing this game. Like Quentin said, the Swamp is a very tough place to play.
See, my thing is, I think if you lose this game, I think there's plenty of other losable games on your schedule. The Swamp is a hard place to play, but you have almost every advantage except for home.
Well, what about weather? What is Utah used to playing in? High altitude.
It's been hotter in Salt Lake City than the last month or so on average than it has in Gainesville.
Has it really?
Yeah. And
What
that
about
doesn't
the
take in humidity into factor and everything, but
What about humidity?
no, it's obviously not as humid. And
Not there.
Yeah.
yeah, but when you look at the field, you don't look at the conditions of the game. They have almost every advantage. They have more depth. They have the more experienced coach. They have the more experienced quarterback. I don't know. I'm gonna say better. I don't want to be disrespectful to either of those guys. I don't know much about Anthony Richardson as a passer, but like Quentin said, Kyle Whittingham and Utah, they're pretty conservative with their play style, and so I think it's close for about 2.5 quarters, and I think that lack of depth on the Florida team, I think that starts to come into effect at about mid mark of the third quarter, and I think that Utah wins not convincingly, but not a blowout. I think it's probably 10-point game. I think that spread's a little too low. I think it's a little disrespectful to Utah, and I could be off, and I could be just way too low on Florida, but
I want to remind everyone that Utah went punch for punch with Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year.
Yeah, they did.
That offense was very impressive compared to because Ohio State's offense was just so like
that gave them a lot of street cred.
Here's
I
one.
don't think they didn't really lose that much either. Is the thing. So it's a very similar team to what they had last year, and
they both had the same expectations of playing well, being good this year, 10-win season. The only difference is Utah's expectations is coming from the national media, where Florida's is coming from the alumni.
Yeah.
One advantage that I did think that I just thought of that Florida does have, Billy Napier's a new coach. Anthony Richardson, we don't know a whole lot about him as a passer, and they have a bunch of transfers. They have a bunch of new guys. And so when you're preparing in the offseason, you look at film from the last year. Yeah. And so there's a lot more that Utah has to look at from different places, and there's way more unknown about Florida, so they might be a little more unpredictable than what Utah is hoping for. And Florida, Billy Napier has had the exact same amount of time to watch the team that's going to be almost the carbon copies of last year.
Florida could be the SEC surprise like Arkansas was last year. I mean, everybody expects big things from Kentucky and Tennessee and obviously Georgia, but nobody expected anything from Arkansas, and what they were 4-0 at
Yeah.
one point in conference or 3-0 and had already beaten Texas. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert,
that
we'll
could-
be
that could
wrong
be
somewhere.
Florida.
Either on
I
our
mean,
predictions or on this game or whatever else, but
yeah.
we'll be wrong somewhere. And I think that it's just I'm more interested in getting it right than having it right to begin with.
Right.
All right.
Biggest game of the day.
We have another game after this that I don't have on the graphic, and it's because it's my fault. We are only picking from teams with at least one ranked, and Quentin brought it up right before the show started. There's one game that we just can't pass up.
So we're saving the best for last. We have 2 games to go.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about Notre Dame and Ohio State first, though.
Okay.
All right.
So what's this game? I'm not prepared. I'm going to go in blind.
Oh, you'll know the next game, but we're going.
No. This one we're about to talk about.
This is
We're
Ohio
doing
State,
Notre Dame,
Ohio State,
right now.
Notre Dame. That's what we're talking about right
We're
now.
doing Ohio State, Notre Dame right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going in order of game time.
Okay. You want me to start it off?
Yeah, we'll let you start.
Okay. Ohio State is number 2, and Notre Dame. This is an away game for Notre Dame, home game for Ohio State. Notre Dame is number 5. We don't have overall predictions for Notre Dame since they weren't in a Power 5 conference. But me personally, they play 5 or 6, probably more than that, but. They play a lot of Power 5 teams. Of those teams,
we'll talk about Notre Dame almost every week. So
okay, I have them losing to Ohio State. I have them losing also to Clemson. But I have them beating Syracuse and North Carolina. Here is a few facts. OSU. This is number 2 against number 5. It's in Ohio State. It's a 6:30 game. Ohio State is picked by 17.5 points. Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. He came from Oklahoma State, who had a pretty good defense last year. OSU lost 2 games last year to Oregon and Michigan. I can't remember how many Notre Dame had.
losses?
Losses.
I think 2.
2.
I think 3 after the bowl game. Or 2 after.
I do know that Notre Dame, I think they're bringing back their quarterback from last year. I don't know how much he played last year, but I do know the receiving core is very young. They're supposed to be good, but I guess technically as of yet, they're unproven. Here is an interesting fact I found. Since 1999, and I think this goes towards a lot of those anti-Notre Dame fans out there, who's accused of not ever playing a really tough schedule and piling up wins against weak teams, even if they're Power 5 teams. Since 1999, Notre Dame is 2-21 against top 5 teams. That says a lot. They are playing a couple of good teams this year. Clemson, Ohio State, of course. Like I said, Ohio State is 17.5 point favorites. I think that's too much over Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame is on the road. And I personally feel like they always get a few notches up the ranking just because of bias, Notre Dame bias throughout the nation.
Yeah, I think they're a little overrated, but I don't think it's not their fault.
Exactly. And 17
I think it's unfair.
Points, that's a number 20 team coming to play Ohio State. So I predict Ohio State winning by 10. I think it'll be close for a while. I think when it's all said and done, even though the score is going to be a 2-score game, I think it's going to show that Ohio State was pretty dominant. But I think the reason it's going to be a little close is because Ohio State's defense just isn't really. It's not one of the top notch defenses teams out there. They got a new defensive coordinator. He is a good coordinator, but he's first time, you never know with a new team. So I predict Ohio State by 10. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with a lot of what Rob said, especially off the defense. I think that their defense is going to be very good, and towards once they get their feet under them, I think that they have a new coach. They have pretty new defense, a lot of new players on their defense too. So I think that they're going to figure it out at some point, but I don't know how soon that will be. And I think that Notre Dame might come and surprise them a little bit at the beginning. So I think that it'll be closer than people think, but I still think Ohio State is going to win by double digits.
Completely forgot. Notre Dame has a new coach. Where is he from?
Notre Dame.
Promoted within.
Oh, promoted from within. That's right. Okay.
All right, so to no one's surprise, Notre Dame is probably going to have a pretty good offensive line. That's kind of been their thing. They're probably the number one producer of O-line in the NFL right now. That's what they're good at. I think it's going to be close. I don't think that it's close the entire game. But, like, as we said, I think Ohio State's defense is unproven to this point. And Notre Dame's going to look exactly what Michigan did, and that's run the ball. And so they're going to run the ball as often as they can unless it's an obvious pass down, which I think takes the quarterback situation out of play. Not completely, but I think that you minimize your quarterback's impact when you're able to run the ball well. And I think Jim Knowles.
I think if you're right there, if what you think is going to happen, I think they will also be playing into OSU's strength on the defense because I think their weakness is in their backs, is it not?
No, because I mean Michigan was able to run. They were able to commit to the run, and they just ran and ran and ran and ran. They didn't do an air raid, and so I think this is a team you can run the ball on, and until they can prove me wrong, which I think they could do in this game, and they could force Notre Dame to throw the ball more, but I don't think that it's going to be that simple. I don't think you're going to be able to go from a pretty poor run defense to being able to turn around and be able to stop a great O-line and a good running game, and especially if they commit to it. And so I think
What's Notre Dame's run game look like? Are they good?
They have a good offensive line, and they're a Power 5 school with a good running back. So you're able to run the ball pretty well, and they have a good tight end. So I think you're gonna be able to have some tight end set stuff that gives you another blocker, and then it gives you a little bit of an option with either sending that tight end out or can give you some versatility on that with the run pass game, and I think Ohio State wins this game. And I think it could be as much as 2 touchdowns. I don't think that Notre Dame at the end of the game is going to be able to look and say, "Oh, we could have got that one." I think Ohio State's the better team, but I think that they play them close for that run game for a while. I think they dominate the time of possession, but I think that Ohio State gets just enough explosiveness on the offensive end that they're going to be able to pull out a win. I think they're going to have just too many explosive plays, short drives that it's going to gas Notre Dame's defense or Notre Dame's offense.
Which team can least afford to lose this game?
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Because
if
Ohio
Notre
State
Dame loses, does their chances of making the playoffs? Well, obviously it decreases, but they have an easier mountain to climb if they lose this game than Ohio State does?
I would say yeah, but I also think that their schedule is probably going to be, as an opponent, it's going to be tough enough where the national media is still going to consider them a playoff team.
Especially if it's close through the first few quarters. But you're looking at it like it's like every team has the same expectations. Notre Dame's expectations is to try and get 10 wins this year. I think if you're a 2-loss team, that's a lot to be encouraged by, especially with this recruiting class coming in. And so you're not expecting to make the playoff. And so, no, so
They're the number 5 team in the nation.
and they shouldn't be. And I think any real Notre
I
Dame
know, I
fan
know.
knows that. But
Yeah.
you can also look at it if Ohio State's favored pretty heavily, it'd be pretty easy to juice Notre Dame high early in the season. So then when you look back at Ohio State's season, you can say, wow, they had a pretty good win against a number 5 ranked team early in the year. And so I think Ohio State's is you got to get to the national championship or bust. And playing
Yeah.
a game where a team doesn't have the same insanely high expectations as you, I think you obviously just have more to lose than what they have to lose.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can take it as a moral victory if you lose by 10 points if you're Notre Dame.
So we all predict Ohio State to win over Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and we all predict A&M to beat Sam Houston, right?
Yeah.
So we're all predicting everything going as planned. A&M will move up in the rankings.
No, I actually think that if I had to vote, I wouldn't rank A&M at the beginning of the year. Just to spite you.
Okay.
You know who I would rank? Number
Okay.
1 in the country?
Okay.
Number 1 in the SEC?
Uh, I still have hopes for that. I think it might be an 8 or 9 as in a Josh Pate bold prediction, but I do expect them to move up in the polls. If they win by 24 over Sam Houston State, Notre Dame loses. I think at the very least Notre Dame and A&M will switch places, 5 and 6.
Yeah, I don't know if a 24-point win against an FCS opponent is good.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good enough
I
to
think
say,
you're kind
wow,
of
that's impressive.
underselling your guys.
Yeah, but just to go over it again. Oh, we'll get into our last game first. I apologize. I apologize to FSU and LSU, which is the last game we're going to cover. Rob, I'll start with you.
Gosh, I'm just going on memory here, but I do have LSU winning that game. I believe it's at LSU.
No, it's another
It's
neutral site game. It's at the Superdome.
It's in New Orleans, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
So it's basically a home game for LSU.
yeah.
Yeah.
But officially, it's a neutral
Okay.
site.
Did we pick any games that did not include an SEC team? I think West Virginia Pitt is the only one.
Yeah,
I
Ohio
predict
State,
LSU.
Ohio State,
This
Notre
is,
Dame. We just talked about it.
Oh, that's true. This is Brian Kelly's first game at LSU. There's some theories out there that he may be unintelligible in speaking after this game, just because of the influence of the Cajuns on him, trying to fit in and everything with his players. But I see LSU winning this game. I think Florida State is on a team on the rise, but we talked about how disappointing Nebraska was last year and moving into this season. I think Florida State was expected to be pretty good last year, and they just tanked. They lost to Jackson State. They lost the opening game to Notre Dame. I think Florida State has routinely started off slow, had high expectations, and just not done anything with it. I think going on the road, and they are on the road for LSU. LSU's fans are going to be there and create. I mean, it's just going to be like playing, at their stadium. So I see LSU winning, and I'm just trying to. I'm gonna pick them by 14. And I don't know. I don't think either one of these teams are ranked. Are they?
No.
I know.
That's
Florida
why we didn't
State's
have it
not,
on our
but-
pick'em.
Okay.
All right, Quentin, we're gonna go ahead and rush through this. If you want to go ahead, I know we've gone the way over on the time. I think you missed whatever you were needing to do.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
So I have both these teams at 7-5, but I think LSU has a better roster. I think that Brian Kelly is also the better coach, and LSU obviously plays a tougher schedule, so that's why they go 7-5. I think if LSU were to play the Florida State schedule, they would have a more favorable record. But I don't know. I think I think it'll be close. I don't know how close. I think I'd probably have to say like LSU by from anywhere from the 7 to 10 range because I think I think that they're gonna start Jaden Daniels. I don't know that he's actually came out and said it yet, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna start Jaden Daniels.
I think that's where they're leaning right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have LSU winning also. I think they just I think that FSU's O line isn't able to handle the pass rush that LSU is going to send their way. I think it could be a single digit game. I'm not super familiar, mainly because we haven't seen either of these, or we haven't seen LSU. And so we don't know what they're going to look like under Brian Harsin. So it's hard for me to give a super intelligible prediction other than I think that they have the better roster and the better coach. Now I don't know how much better I don't know how much better they're gonna be, but I'm gonna say 8 points. I'll give them over a touchdown extra point up, but I'll say it's gonna be an 8 point game, and yeah, that's all there really is to say. We're gonna go over these.
I think just real quick, the only game we really disagreed on was the Utah. Was it the Utah game?
Yeah, Utah, Florida. But some of these games have pretty big lines, and so I think we would disagree as it's concerned to the spread. But you have a lot of games that aren't going to be super close,
Yeah.
and like where there's a team that should win, and so we're at least for the time being we're going to agree a lot more than we'll disagree. But just to go back over it, I think we had Pitt winning the backyard brawl. Texas A&M rolls. I think Cincinnati looks different and loses pretty convincingly. Not disappointing, not devastatingly, but I think they lose convincingly to Arkansas. Oregon, Georgia. Not really much to say there. I think we're all pretty solid on Georgia. Utah, Florida is where we disagreed. Rob, you had Florida winning. Quentin?
Utah.
I had Utah. Ohio State. Notre Dame, I think, will cover the spread. I don't know. I think we were kind of all in the same place there. And then FSU, LSU, we just went over, and I think we agreed. About halfway through this episode, we decided to stop looking at what Trey had to say because we're a little salty.
Right. I would like to apologize to all the Aggie fans out there. I forgot to put my Aggie flag over my TV in the background, so I promise to do better in the future.
I think he's just talking to himself when he turns around once this video is uploaded and watches the video off of his TV.
I'll apologize to myself.
Loyal viewer. By the way, hi future Mathis. You're probably going to cringe when I say that, but we got a good laugh from Rob out of it. Yeah, that's it from us here. And we will see y'all on the reaction episode. And we're going to be cutting these episodes into clips. And so you'll be able to see what we have for our prediction. But we'll go over what we had more for the rest of the games, either Sunday or Monday. I know we have Sunday night and Monday night games, but we're not pushing our reaction all the way to Tuesday.
And we may talk about some games that just took us by surprise that we didn't even talk about today.
Yeah, we'll touch on every game, but we might go quicker on some than others. We'll have 2 or 3 big topics that we talk about.
I can promise you, if the fans throw golf balls at an opposing coach, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see y'all soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.